Next question. Can you share any behind the scenes stories, which you kind of have, or challenges that you faced writing this latest novel?
Hmm, challenges, sure.
Let me count
There's
the. Here's this one. And
a multitude of challenges.
yes.
I'm going to start with my family. My brother Jim. So in prison, the food, I'm sure you know, is not. It's terrible. There's no other way to say it. It's not nutritious. It's not good, because inmates run the kitchens, the chickens and the proteins and the vegetables and all that. The good stuff that's supposed to go in the meals, that's basically stolen and sent out the back door and sold onto the compound. Um, the inmates sell it to other inmates, and then you make your own meals. So you have a couple of different options. You can either work Unicor, which is prison industries, and they pay you 17 or 19 cents an hour. It ends up being a couple $300 a month. You can do illegal activities. You can sell cigarettes. You can sell drugs. You can tattoo. You can cook. You can clean shoes. You can clean rooms. You can do people's laundry. There's a multitude of things you can do. Some illegal, some not illegal. All of them BOP frowned upon. You're not allowed to hustle in prison, period. But there's all these different things you can do to earn money or food or whatever. I didn't have to do any of that. I have an unbelievable. There were other family members along the way that have helped, certainly, and I don't want to discount any of those. But my brother Jim and his wife Marlene, just unbelievable. I never had to worry about anything. I never went without a meal. I never had my books. There were money on my books the entire time I was there. I was able to buy commissary. I was able to eat. If there was things that I wanted, I got them. If I needed new shoes, I needed sweats. All the things that you need in prison. I had those.
Mhm.
I didn't want for anything. And like I said, there were other family members along the way that helped early on. But my brother and his wife, the majority of it for a long time. And I was blessed. I've got some good friends out there. In fact, we're in the middle of opening a coffee company called Up Cup Coffee.
Mhm.
Doc William MacArthur III and Alex Diaz, both good friends of mine, both prior felons. They were both on the streets while I was inside still for a long time.
Mhm.
They did everything. They put money on my books. They made sure I had everything. I just had a good core support group that I didn't have to. I was able to not worry about anything but writing. I didn't have to do anything but stand up twice a day and let the cops count me and make sure I hadn't escaped and write, and work on me, work on becoming a different person than the person that
Yeah.
went to prison. So I was blessed for that. Um, the Some of the behind the scenes stuff. Uh, I there, I never knew what I was going to write. Whatever I wrote that day. I didn't have a plan. When I started writing, I sat home and asked someone to send me in a bunch of how-to books, how to write and how to publish. And so
Yeah.
she sent me 20 plus books. I read every one of them from front to back. Every one of them said that the way I was doing it wrong. Uh, but
You wasn't having it, were you?
yeah, I'm a reader. I understand what's good writing. I understand what good writing is. I've read lots and lots of books of the type of books that I now write. So I knew I had something, um, but I never knew. All those books said that I should sit and write out these cue cards, and I should have a plan, and I should know where the arc of the story is, and where you fall in love, and where you rob a bank, and all these different kinds of things. I didn't do any of
Mhm.
that. The behind the scenes, I got up, whatever was happening in prison that day, I twisted around my little mind and made it out to be what I would do or what I would want and what I was thinking. And I dreamed big, I thought big, and I wrote big. But I did not know that day or that night what I was going to write. The lights shut off at 10 o'clock every night, or 9:45, 10 o'clock. Right, it depends on where you are. I would get in the shower then in some of the lower security facilities. You're able to roam around a little bit during the night. The TVs and stuff are off, but you're allowed to take a shower and that kind of stuff. So I would take a shower after the 10 o'clock count when all the lights are off and the prison settled down for the day. And before I got in the shower, I would read what I wrote the day before. I would read,
Mhm.
go take a shower, come out of the shower, and I'd pick back up that scene, or I'd finish that scene and write something else crazy. And that's just the way I wrote the book. And when I felt like the character needed to fall in love, that's when he fell in love. When I felt like he needed to rob a bank or get a big score or any of the stuff, that's what I wrote that day. And I would just that's some of the behind the scenes stuff.
That's
But
good.
just
That's good
yeah,
stuff.
incredible. I wouldn't trade that prison experience for anything in my life outside of having been there for my two daughters. But outside of that,
Right.
best thing that ever happened to me. I love it. I'm so thankful for it. Made me who I am today. Uh,
Absolutely.
changed my life. There was two things I worked on. It says it in my bio on the website. I worked on becoming a New York Times bestselling writer, the number one spot. That's what I'm working towards. And I worked on becoming the best human being I could possibly be. So
Absolutely.
both a work in progress, but thankful for where I am today, for sure. Would not trade it for anything.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
because I know you a little, I know that one of your sayings was about prison, about what you wrote on when you were getting
Yeah.
so
There isn't.
determined, right? That
Yeah.
I mean, I've never heard of anybody doing this, but you were determined and full of grit that you were going to make this happen. That you wrote on what?
I wrote on the inside of, so in the shoe, special housing unit, which I ended up there over a long story, but a poker game, and we all ended up. I ended up in the shoe and solitary confinement, and you get one Snicker bar, one bag of coffee, and a box of saltine crackers a week, and you can purchase also a notebook. That's all you can purchase: a Snickers bar, a box of saltine crackers, a notebook, and a bag of coffee. That's it. And meds, anything over the counter, allergy tablets or aspirin or stuff like that. That's it.
Mhm.
There's no toothpaste, no. It's all everything else is given to you. But the paper, I wanted to write. I wanted to write bad. They were always out of the tablets. They never had the tablets. The commissary was constantly out.
Oh
So
no.
when I finally decided to start down this road of writing, I took a razor I tore a razor apart, one of the little disposable razors they give you a couple times a week to shave. I tore that razor apart and took the blade out and cut a straight line down the edge of the saltine box of crackers. So I would ask everybody, I would trade meds I'd yell down the hallway, hey, listen, I'm trading you allergy tablets because you can only buy one of each. So some guys wanted two Snickers bars or whatever it might be, an extra bag of coffee. I would trade for saltine crackers. So I would buy other stuff on there and I would trade for the boxes of saltine crackers and I turned those into my writing tablets. I would cut down the edge and I would just write on the inside of saltine cracker boxes until eventually they got pads of paper in.
That's what I call determination.
Yeah, it was
You
a.
want
I still have some of those. I have a box that I came home with. I tried to leave most things behind. Anything of any value, I left behind to the guys. But some of
yeah.
that personal stuff, I have a box of it. I have chapters that are written on the inside of saltine cracker boxes. I'm gonna give them to my
Oh,
two. Yeah, I'm gonna give those to my girls one day.
I'd love to have a picture of some of those.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Just
definitely. I'm gonna frame
on
some stuff.
yes, that's a good idea. Well, what an incredible story. I I know it must have been incredibly hard, but you made it through those challenges by keeping your mind set on the things that you intended to do.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not one of those guys that sits around and cries and boo-hoos. I'm stuck in this situation. Let's make the best of it. It was going to be hard, no matter what. There was nothing I was going to get away from that. The hardest
Hmm.
not being around friends and family and
Hmm.
those two little precious girls. So I just decided one day that let's go, just suck it up and let's make something of this. I wasn't going to come out the person I went in. I wasn't going to come out without a plan. I knew I
Hmm.
was facing. I knew I was going to do 20 years. I ended up doing 16, but I knew I had a long road to make a lot of changes. And
Yeah, and
by
you
God, that's
did.
what I did. That's exactly what I did.
You one of the quotes in the book that you use on your website is from the worst of places
To the best of intentions.
to the best of intentions. I really
Yeah.
like that. It really shows that, you know, even though you're in the worst place of your life ever, worst that you could even imagine, to the best of intentions, and your intentions were to be a New York Times bestseller, to have the love of your life,
Yeah.
your Kennedy, and
Yeah.
you're also fixing to have another big blessing that was not in the book, was it?
It was not. So the funny thing so while getting to know Carla and going back, and obviously I met her while in prison. Her brother was my cellmate. Her brother nonstop was telling me You remind me of my sister. You remind me of my sister. You remind me of my sister. So at the same time, he's saying the same thing to his sister. You remind me of my Sally. You remind me of my Sally. So one day he's getting ready for a visit. I said, "Oh yeah, who's coming to see us?" The next day, and I said, "Who's coming to see you tomorrow?" And he says, "My sister. I'm going to tell her about you." I said, "What?" I said, "No." So at that time, I had no interest in any of that. I didn't. I was trying to keep my head inside of those walls, concentrate, and finish up the things and the goals that I had set. No
Mhm.
intentions of anything. So fast forward, he goes to visit, comes back that night, and says, "Hey, my sister said to call her. I'm not calling your sister. I'm not calling your sister. Absolutely not calling your sister." So I said, "Just give me an email. I'll send her a text through the email system." So he does that. We talk. I send off an introduction, which was a terrible, terrible letter. Hey, I've been in prison for 16 years of my life. How are you? So it ended up my cellmate goes to the shoe that night, which is just funny the way the universe, God works. He goes to the cell that night. The only point of contact to his family to let his family know is Carla. So I'm forced to send out a better email, a more explaining email. And from there, it just, because I was forced to give her updates on a daily basis the first couple of times, it kept me on the email to her. And every
Oh.
email, there was one more question, or there was one more smiley face, or there was one more laugh out loud. And pretty soon it turned into what we are now, is heading down the aisle for the first time in my life. And better than that, or equivalent at the very least, we're about to have identical twin boys in August.
Oh my
Tristan,
goodness.
yeah. So Trevor James and Tristan Rip will
Oh,
be
I
here in
love
August.
that.
Yeah,
You had something to do with the rip, didn't you?
I did. It's Rip is the cowboy on Yellowstone. I said to myself, boy,
I
if I'm ever
recognize
lucky
that
enough,
name.
yeah, he's just a cool kick butt character. And I said, boy, if I ever get the opportunity, I want to name him. I have a small infatuation with Tom Brady. I think he's the greatest football player, greatest athlete in the world. So, and when you read
Mhm.
SNIFF, you'll see the Tom Brady quotes and everything else in there. But I had said I was going to name my kid Tom. Obviously, my last name is Brown, so I was going to get the initials, which Tom Brady goes by, TB12. I
Yeah.
said, there's no chance I'm getting, if I have a boy, she didn't like Tom. So we ended up with, she said, I'm going to do you a favor, though. We'll let you keep the TB. So we named both kids. Both kids are TBs, just after Tom Brady. And I'm going to make both their numbers 12 somehow. But that's
That
how we
is
ended up with, yeah, but we couldn't, I couldn't get away with the Tom Brady, but I got away with the Rip. And I got away
wow.
with the James after my brother. So it turned
Congratulations
out
on
okay.
both of them.
Yeah, it wasn't
Absolutely.
planned. It wasn't planned. But the funny thing is, going back to prison during the emails and the phone calls and going back and forth with Carla, I said, man, it sure would be great to have twins. And it's like
No.
everything yeah, in fact, we were going through the emails. We were
Oh.
going through the emails yesterday, unpacking. Now that I've moved here to California, uh, we're going through the emails, obviously before she was pregnant, any of this, and we're picking out boys' names. And wouldn't you know it, Tristan and Trevor are on there. It's like everything that I said and spoke about, we spoke it into existence. We talked about having twins, and oh boy, sure come out here. I got twins. It's just unbelievable. What I wrote in that sniff, I'm living. It's,
One of the things that you said to me was that you were determined to write yourself out of prison.
I did. So, excuse me. My intentions was, when how I got to writing, I'd never written anything my entire life. Nothing. Nothing. A couple of love letters as a kid and some of business stuff along the way, but nothing to speak of. So I'm in prison and there's nothing to do. Bored out of my mind. Uh, Relentless boredom. It just never ends. There's nothing to do in prison. The world believes that they rehabilitate you in prison. That there's stuff for you. They don't do any of that. There's nothing to do at all. They put a TV on and give you a rec yard when they allow you to go outside. But they put a TV on. There's nothing. You're bored out of your mind. Either you can get into illegal activity, um, or you can work out, make yourself better, work on you as a person. But you have to have that drive and the dedication to do it.
Hmm.
So there's nothing to do. Getting back to the story, it's boredom tenfold. It's just unbelievable amounts of it. So I go to and I'm used to running multiple companies at the same time on multiple different continents, staying busy. So I go to my case manager and ask them, listen, hey, I'm bored out of my mind. Um, what is there to do? What can I do to make money? Nothing. The only thing you're allowed to do is you can write a book and publish a book. It can't be about your crimes. I said, I don't know anything about writing a book. I don't know anything about writing a book.
Mm.
So I had that conversation a couple of months later, in no specific order. 3 different things tell me to write a book. I'm sitting in the queue, special housing, solitary confinement, and I read I'm sorry, first I get a legal call from my attorney about my appellate process. So while I'm on the phone to him, he asked me, hey, what do you do all day? All I do is read. There's nothing to do but read. I'm sitting in a bunk. I read, 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 read. This is why I'm solitary confinement. He said, you should write a book about some of your stuff. I don't know anything about
That
writing a
was
book.
number two.
Yeah, I can't write a book. So fast forward a little bit. I'm reading one of these novels, and in the novel, I always take the time to read the author's acknowledgments. So in this particular novel, the author takes time to thank the President of the United States for being an avid reader and for taking the time of showing him around the White House. So a light bulb went off. Man, maybe if I could write a book good enough to land on somebody's nightstand, maybe they can get me out of this prison, out of here. I shouldn't be here. Uh, So ego kicked in. I'm going to write a book good enough to end on, or if I could write a book to end up on somebody's nightstand. So fast forward, I still didn't pick up a pen. So Doc, my partner now in Upcup, the coffee company, he was a prior felon. I knew him. I met him while I was in solitary confinement uh, in there. And somehow, some way, I believe he had the subscription or somebody passed it to us underneath the door. I forget how exactly I got the USA Today newspaper. So on the front cover of this USA Today, top 10 hardest things to do. Number 3 is writing a novel. I said, oh, this is it. I've been told way too many times. I got to write. I picked
You
up a
gotta
pen.
listen to me.
Yeah,
Write a book,
yeah. That's it's funny how God works. This is what I was meant to do. It's what I should have been doing my entire life. But it was those 3 things uh, that made me see that I want to write. And then I picked up that pen and I've never put it down. I fell in love with it. I've done all kinds of crazy things in this lifetime. I've made all kinds of crazy money doing all kinds of crazy things. Never have I made money doing something that I love. I've never had a job of something I loved. I just did whatever I had to do to make it. This writing, man, I'm so in love with it. I wouldn't care if I ever made a nickel at it. I will always write for the rest of my life. I'm addicted to it.
That's a true passion, isn't it?
Yeah, that's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
True.
But I forgot what your question was. But that's how we got. Here's where we are now.
Here's where we are. It was the challenges, and it was all of it. Yeah.
Okay.
It was a
good answer. So I didn't get too far off track. I didn't get too far off track. I tend to.
It's your story, and I want you to tell your story because it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Everybody has a story.
Everybody has a story in them, though. I believe that.
Oh, I absolutely believe that.
Yeah. Everybody has a story in.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you're sharing the stories that you do. Authors who write fantasy have a different kind of brain than us authors who write nonfiction and self-help books. It's just a total different mindset. And I was telling a friend of mine the other day, I was like, I so admire your brain. I can't do that. I can't keep up with all the characters and all the, the scenarios and who said what to who and what. No, not in my brain. It can't happen.
That's funny because there was no way I could write what you write. So it's funny. I couldn't keep up with. There's no way. Yeah.
Mindset. Are you? Of course you're creative, but did you? Okay. So the difference. My internet's messing up between a right brain person and a left brain person. I'm definitely more right brain because I'm the creative. And if it wasn't for my husband, holding on to the string of my balloon, I would just fly off into who knows where. He's my rock. Did you take your medicine? Have you done this? Did you do that yet? Don't forget you got an appointment. And it's like, okay, you're hired.
Yeah.